Are we plugged in?
Hey, 1, 2.
Hey, greetings. We are
1, 2.
Comic Talk.
Yeah, we just straight up. Anyway. We're here now. I'm tired. He's tired. We're tired.
I'm
Comic
old.
Talk. We are 1, 2 tired Comic Talk. And today we're here to show off some comics. Now, I know a lot about all of you guys aren't here yet, but we prefer to go the live stream route just because we can answer people if they pop in later.
Sure.
But we are showing off first to get right into it. We're showing off comics we got. We got an Aggretsuko issue 1 cover A. This thing's pretty cool because Aggretsuko is a Netflix series.
And you know about this.
I know quite a bit about it. It's made by Sanrio, and if you're familiar with Hello Kitty and the little goth like characters, all those cutesy characters is all Sanrio. Hello Kitty is Sanrio, but this is also Sanrio, and this is their attempt at making a more adult aimed. I don't know how to put it.
Well, you know what I noticed is actually
It's aimed towards adults. It's their first step in that.
Well, after reading it, I want to say that it's actually a great crossover to where adults and kids can do it. It's there's nothing there that's there's no language.
Even in the show, I don't think there's
no blood.
But Hello Kitty is more child.
I get it. I'm
this
just saying
stuff
that
is more like teen.
Appeal to me. It appeals to you.
Yeah, it's more teen, and then like the adults can more enjoy it without being kind of shamed. And we're gonna get into the next one, and I'm somehow busting these comics probably. We got
that's the cover B.
The cover B of the same issue. These things are hard to find. Keep that in mind.
And like I said, I got to read this, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I was a little more surprised that it was a little more picture oriented. You know, there's definitely a lot of graphics. It was fun. Oh, now check this out. Now this I was chasing down for over a week. Now I have a neat little story I'd like to tell with this. Like I said, I was chasing this for over a week. The store owner told me that he didn't have a copy. He had sold it. Again, this is the Ice Cream Man number 17, which is so happened to be one of my lucky numbers. And when I went there last week, though, they had it. And they had it for, this thing goes for $3.99. They had it for $10.99. So I was like, hey, wait a minute. I asked for that. Guy goes, I'll not only give it to you, I will not only give it to you at a non-high price. Hey, how's it going, John? How's it going, James? But he cut me a deal.
John's the Lego man.
Yeah, he is. And so we end up getting this for less than cover, which was awesome because I know it's going for a lot more than that. Now I didn't get to read it, but I did get to read Aggretsuko, and I loved it.
James Galagos. I think that's how you say it.
James, yeah.
All right. What else do we talk about? More stuff in here?
Yes, there's definitely a lot more in there.
Pulling. This is all year pulls. I know nothing about these.
Well, this is the Wolverine. Now we got this, and the reason why I got this one was this was the retail incentive party variant. So they supposedly had to be involved in the party to get it. Now he hasn't got to read the Wolverine. I did. What I like about this is there is 2 stories. You do get your money's worth if you think about it. If they normally give you 30 pages of story, you get 60 pages of story. If they normally charge you $3.99 or even at best $2.99, this was an $8 book. So you factor all that in, and essentially you get what you paid for. Plus, there were 2 stories that I was thoroughly entertained. So Wolverine. Now we like I said, we are also getting other pulls for this week, but this is just what we got for right now. Now, do you remember when we got to meet Ryan at Brave New World?
Mm-hmm.
And he signed our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
signed
crossover.
That Batman Who Laughs.
Oh, and I was just checking that out. That's what I had in my hand. I forgot to grab it and show. Anyways, yes, you are correct. Now, he is also the same individual who's doing this. So I'm not only a fan, which I want him to read
Rob
this.
Worst.
Hey, Rob.
back
Legos
leading
for life.
into Tomb of the-
Actually, I think Kai just recently.
I thought the
stole
backup
his Lego
leading
stuff.
into Tomb of the Draco reboot was the better read.
Huh. You think so? I didn't even get to check that out, Rob. No, thanks for pointing that out. So, I was not only
Okay,
able to
flexible.
get this homage, I did get to read it, and Ryan is a writer that we've got to meet, and he's writing, like I said, that crossover. So I not only like that, but I did get to read this, and also this was also told in a like two separate tale thing. This was fun. This is the same stuff that I remember as the movie. I can't wait to actually get the next issue, and I know it only actually comes out I think in about 2 weeks. So this is going to be fun. And the next one issue that actually issue number 2 that I want is also the Spider-Man homage.
This is almost like disgustingly flexible. Like being able to look at your own I don't know, like thinking about that realistically and how that looked, that kind of
Cirque du
scares
Soleil.
me. But
You know what's cool about that? This cover is I watched someone else already hold this cover, and they were holding it upside down. So if you think about it, this cover works both ways. That's right. Hey, Z. Cap. Hey, look at all the people jumping in.
this looks like
I
Predator
also threw
went
the
to space.
StreamYard in there if you want to jump in for a couple minutes and talk about any of these books. I did get to read this. I love it. I'm trying to get this guy to actually read the Ghost Spider stuff. You know, it's odd that I'm reading all these I guess female led characters. So the Gwen Stacy, Star, Captain Marvel.
You got something you want to tell the community?
Ghost Spider. You know, I'm reading and I'm finding that as far as the main companies are concerned, the Marvel and DC, I'm finding that these are the better stories for me. I don't know about you, but I don't get me wrong. I'm hardcore Venom doing that, doing the Thor, but I'm not buying into all the other team stuff and everything else. Yeah, Kai's got the jams going on. Hey, James. So Captain Marvel, like I said, been getting all these. At some point, Kai is definitely going to start reading some of this stuff, right, Kai?
Looks like Predator went to space.
This is the first cover appearance Supreme Vox Supreme. I like my Vox with some sour
Rob Morris
cream.
said that's advanced yoga without a vertebrae or two and maybe a rib.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, I got the share thing going on, huh? No rib.
He said that Captain Marvel issue is really good.
See, and I don't know if they have it on the menu at Taco Bell, but you can ask if they have a Vox Supreme because I know it's just a regular Vox with sour cream. So
This cover is funny. This is cool. I like it. He's like handing it to him through the grate.
and I don't know if you got to watch any of the cartoons, but that is how they.
That's how they got their pizza.
A lot of times, hey man, just leave it at the manhole, or sometimes when they were at the side, they're like, yeah, just stick it down in the gutter. Or there was also one that was down the grating. He's like, just slide it down the grating, you'll fit.
I want to watch the old cartoons.
They're cool. So what he's talking about is, I like all the retail incentives. Now, I'm not digging the next issue retail incentive, but as far as from 100 all the way up to this 103, I've been getting all the retail incentives. And then 100, 101, 102, I've been getting also the A covers along with it. So I am tapering away. But I do know something's going to happen in 105. So I want to try to get, I think the retail incentive cover is a lot better looking in that one. And, but I'm also all kinds of jacked up for Jenica, which is coming out next week. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm a Eternal fan. Kai's handed me some books. So what we end up doing is we end up meeting up with, well, hey, before we get into those, actually, we weren't supposed to get into those yet. What's in that?
We already blew through it.
Did we? Okay, so before we get into this, let's do your. I want
What?
Kai. This is you.
Oh, okay.
I've yet to read it with full, disclosure.
So the Joker Killer Smile has been a series I've been a fan of. This little cool cover, and I'm just gonna bring this guy in. I don't know if he's. Well, I'm just gonna. Bring
Who's
Hey,
that? Hi, Rob.
how you doing?
Hey, how are you, sir?
I have some of those comic books that you're reading.
Now, you also got the Agrasuko, yes?
I did. I have not read it yet.
You haven't. Okay.
But-
It's very fun. I put it on par with Spider-Man Venom. Fun.
Okay, that's fair enough. I have not watched much more than an episode or two from the Cartoon Network Adult Swim version. I know it's about some heavy metal singing karaoke bear that's an office worker. So based on that premise, I'm sold. Just haven't gotten around.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. It's an individual. Kai, you know what it is.
Agretsuko.
Yeah, I mean the idea of the individual blurting out all the time and doing this metal stuff. I mean, there's.
It's because basically she lives in a dead end job, and all of her coworkers abuse her basically, and her boss is absolutely the worst. And basically, she lives a horrible work life, and so she releases that by going to karaoke every night and just screaming her head off by herself to her metal music. And if you watch the Netflix series, you get to witness that actually happening, and it's an experience. That's all I'll say.
Wow, you got a stack in your hands. Was that
I always have a stack in my hand. I have nothing but stacks. But got it right here. I plan on getting around to it. But so far this afternoon has only heralded me a few books that I've gotten around to reading, and one old classic, which has a very weird sort of cut to it. I don't know if this is something that came to the market this way, or if just some imbecile just said, hey, I think it's a good idea to start cutting these things, but in the most awkward way. So yeah, Captain Marvel, this was a great issue leading into, well, they're not exactly killing all the members of the Avengers, but it's certainly a lot of fun watching as Carol feels really torn up on the inside about doing what she has to do, which isn't even really killing them. But it's a fun story.
This writer's having a good time, and I like what the writer's been able to do in the sense of, they launched a whole new character. The character's taken off. There's some decent story there. I'm digging it. So
I came onto it late. I wound up picking up almost every single issue all the way up to about 12, 13 and went, you know what? I should probably start reading any of these if I should see if they should continue. Because I only read the first one, but I got really waylaid with all these other books. So one day I just sat down, read them all the way through, and it was pretty solid. And then I got to star number 1 and was kind of a little bit let down, despite the fact same writer and everything. But I'm sticking with the Captain Marvel solo in issue 17. They're about to hit it's the very next issue. Issue 16 is going to be Legacy 150.
Yeah, I believe 16 and 17 will continue on this story, and then after which I think is when it goes into all this Empire Kree stuff starts happening. So it's going to be a War of the Realms of last year type thing, and that's where I'll probably end up fading away in the sense of there won't be substance there for us that will hold on to the main story. It's going to be attached to all this other stuff. So
naturally, and how well is it going to tie into the rest of the Marvel universe? Or is Empire going to be a closed event that'll only really touch a couple books here and there? And is it only really going to be the Kree Empire that it touches, like the Young Avengers that we've barely been hearing
this thing
about?
is spreading out everywhere, and how it's going to actually be long-term influence is like kind of what I believe you're touching on is the question. The problem is that it's going to be in everything. And when I mean everything, I mean it's going to be in all the team books, all the solo books. It's going to be everywhere. So I'm hoping that it doesn't hurt us, the hardcore readers of independent books that we buy on a regular basis and have in our regular pools. If this is not going to hurt us as far as why we do, have these individual titles.
Well, largely, what books do you think it's going to touch? I mean, Amazing Spider-Man really has its own universe going on,
But it's going to be there.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So is Al Ewing figuring in all of his books?
Did I know of? I haven't. Just put it this way: I've seen more books that it's actually going to be in than books that it's not. In one way or another, that's how I've seen it. Even if it's one shots, I've already seen that. That's why I bought 2 books before I started really learning what they were. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to spot buy what I believe is going to connect to the stories that I already have going on.
Good idea, because we kind of fell into that trap, or at least I started to at some point with War of the Realms going, well, if it's tying into the main part of the series, I better pick up the Spider-Man, the Hulk, and none of this crap actually tied into anything, and it was largely filler.
Right.
And, if you wind up having a lot of crap around your room, you don't want to fill up on filler. It's like Thanksgiving. Don't eat all the bread when you have turkey coming.
That's a great analogy.
Empire, I'll stick with that title because it'll only be about 5 issues. That'll take up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just say 7 issues. It'll take up about this much room in a box.
Right.
Since I double board everything, space is the biggest thing. So if it's just going to be a filler book, then I'm probably just going to.
But they're going to have these epilogue setups, prologues. They're going to have all this stuff that's going to go along with it too. That like one of the things I already bought was the handbook, and it goes on.
It's too much, especially when at least it's not like several years ago where it was seemingly a new event every 2-3 months, and it was event leading into another event, into another event.
Right.
It kind of really came to a head after Civil War II, and right after that, Bendis kind of sort of slowly sauntered away into the DC sunlight. And now we're seeing Todido in the, sundown, we'll say.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to affect a lot of the titles going forward on DC, but we're about to see some shakeups in both companies.
Well, and already the Batman is already picked up for most, regular readers, and it might be something good. This is the way I'm kind of comparing it to is something on par of what has happened with Joe Quesada as far as Kevin coming in and essentially taking over even on the comic side. So it might be for the better. Hopefully it'll tie in for everyone for the better. The stories, like I said, on Batman are good. Like Kai was starting to talk about, the Joker Killer Smile. That was an awesome story. I didn't only get to read 2 of the 3. He was just talking about the 3rd, so I'm hoping
the cover alone has a lot of different stuff. Like if you look around on it, there's a lot of small details.
Well, even the story in itself was better than any regular series story that I've read in a while. You know what I mean? And as far as miniseries, they either do one of 2 things: rush it so you don't get a real story at all, or is so overwhelmingly good that you're left going, now why can't they do this in a regular arc, something that's 6, 7, 8 issues long, or why can't this be something that's ongoing like this? So they were either left holding a bag or left with the bag robbed from us, going, why isn't this the regular?
You always have to have the illusion of some kind of change. It's totally an illusion, because as much as they want to keep the ball moving forward, they still have to maintain somewhat of a status quo. So for new readers jumping on, they don't blow their mind wondering, where is this story? Where do I jump on? Where can I figure out what's going on, period? So they always just have to let it go enough so that more people can jump aboard that have never read the title before. So they will take small little one-shots and mini-series and stuff things that could have been great in a regular portion of the series, and it's just forgotten largely.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I will have to say this one was not only really good, but it leads me looking for the one shot that they were talking about, that Batman. What was it? This was
Smile Killer.
yeah, Batman Smile Killer, precisely. So that, I mean, how many times are you normally saying I'm looking forward to a one shot because of the story, or you know what I mean, or because of how it's finalizing something and possibly alluding to something bigger and better in the whole universe? It's rare, So yeah, I'm trying to tie it back into what your question was, in the sense of, do we think this is going to be somewhat good? I'm hoping so. As far as what's happening in the DC universe, I really do.
I just want to see both a combination of good and relevant, because as much as people were jumping on to Batman 89, I just wound up sending a copy out to one of my good friends that's on my show. And I don't care if it's $30, because in about a month or so, unless it winds up being a character that really resonates, it's just another new character. And I'm kind of reminded back from, Batman Forever, when you had the Joker, or not the Joker, the Riddler's two henchwomen, and used in a movie, never seen again. If they ever introduced that into a comic book, hey, at least it was in a movie. This new character we know nothing about, and people are still willing to drop $35 on a book that, Harley Quinn might kill this girl about 3 issues later, for all we know.
It's quite possible. Stranger things have happened, and these are the things that we've seen happen before, definitely.
It's like, we need to see stuff that we've never seen before instead of rehashes on top of rehashes on top of rehashes.
And that's where a lot of times when, what I personally see is some exodus as far as long-term buyers of a Marvel or a DC. People are getting on the indies, and speaking of which, we end up going to see a guy named David Pepos, and we end up getting the trade paperback of Going to the Chapel.
Oh, yeah.
And
man was reading that.
So you've read it?
I haven't. This other guy that's on my show, Miracle Man, the guy that never shows his face, he was showing us those books, and he's read the whole thing. He's spoken nothing but positive words about it. And
Kai and I have decided that, the reason why we bought this is not only to, give David Pepos, a little patron in as far as, picking up his book, but we want to give this out to the community. We are about to hit 200 subs, so we want to go ahead and give that out. So, like I said, I'm noticing that some of these better stories are being told by the independent writers, these independent publishers. So, yeah, we end up not only hanging out with them, which she's going to be doing a show with us on 3/7, but we end up we have the Going to the Chapel 1 through 4 in a regular comic form. And what I thought was kind of neat is he admittedly said he's never signed issue number 4 for anyone ever.
Solid.
And I was like, wow, that's an honor. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, we were able to get all of our issues signed. And like I said, we end up buying the trade so we can go ahead and hand that out. Now, I recommend this. This story was so good that I was clapping in the last 6 panels. I have never physically clapped by reading a book before, but yeah, it was that enjoyable. And I'm finding that when we have these type of content, this is the stuff that keeps us reading. This is the stuff that keeps us enjoy collecting. When we're given some of this crap of the stuff that we were just talking about before, and we're forced to believe that because everyone's clamoring for something that turns out to be not that big of a substance of the book, right? In the sense that we never really get to see her, we never get to see her do anything. We never, there's not much there, but people are willing to pay so much money for a speculation, a possibility.
Things that I think about sometimes could hurt the industry is the simple fact that if you wind up just waiting a few years after a series concludes, like Batman is probably going to finish maybe a few issues after 100. Maybe it'll get to 101. Maybe it'll even get to 105. I don't really see it going that long before DC hits another reset button. James Gallegos was just saying in the chat that he's not thrilled with DC is planning with the 5G stuff. Initially, Didaido, which he got a lot of resistance from, is advancing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman a few years in age and then letting new characters fill the void. And it could have brought on a Black Batman. It could have brought on several different changes of what we're now seeing, such as Wally West becoming a bad guy sitting in the Mobius chair. They're moving in a direction that a lot of creators were resisting, which is why when Scott Snyder was doing what he was going to do in Metal, it was going to be kind of like what Marvel's doing in a lot of their sections. They give certain writers their own little section of the universe. But Didaido was such a micromanager that eventually you had the big brass at WB go, you know what, you're fostering a very toxic work environment, and I know it's 10:30 in the morning on a Friday, but yeah, here's your office supplies and here's your severance pay. So we're about to see changes that we don't really know right now. So it's an exciting time, but it's also a time of change that you do not know what's going to happen next. And for me, as a longtime reader of more than 30 plus years, I want to not know what's going to happen next. When you know what's going to happen every step of the way, like we knew next week is going to be Hellrisen number 3, that issue 92 of Batman would be the first real cover, and then there's the real A or B, which is going to be the better one. Who cares? At this point, we don't know. I love that.
Yeah, it's true. You know, that does offer the element of why we do also pick these things up. You know, it offers the entertainment value that we're looking for. It just kind of sucks that we sometimes we're priced out of the normal buy. You know what I mean? Someone doesn't want to spend, and I don't blame them, spend $30, $35 when there's a few speculators out there that is ruining the market for the person that normally buys these books. So that, you know, it's kind of a bummer on that sake. At the same point, it's also nice if a person does get their regular pulls and their regular books to know that their regular reads are now having value beyond the dollar bin in about 3 or 4 months. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it is a catch-22. It really is.
As a reader, we have to actually enjoy the character. And I do like how Tynion's explaining that Punchline would be the devil on the Joker's shoulder to the Harley's angel. So at least that's a good explanation. But unless she really winds up taking hold, getting her own series, being in other books sporadically, not like Wolverine in the 90s, where it seemed he was in every book and must be 1,000 years old to be able to have that many adventures, that many injuries, and still keep going. Right. So we can't have oversaturation, but at the same time, she still has to be enjoyable and not completely hated by the entirety of the community, which we don't know yet. It's too early to say. So I don't understand the $35 or more at this point.
You know, and we've seen these things happen before, and it's hard to rationalize, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think of how can this not be considered significant to the Marvel Universe, and why isn't this being picked up? And then you see other things, and you're going, wait, why is someone buying something that is someone just looking through? You see just kind of a side image of a person looking through a scope of, no, I am not going to spend that money for that. Are you kidding? No.
Here, let me show you what about that same amount of money for about $35-$40 got me a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was less than 2 weeks ago. This is minus the first issue now. I got this at the BTL Collectible Show at the Miccosukee down here in Florida. They hold these things every month. So I wound up for just under about $40, getting almost the entirety of the Moon Knight series.
Wow.
So, you know, the way that you spend your money, sure, if I'd rather have the volume, if the volume might mean that it will carry the value over time. Plus, I want the reading material. This is a lot more reading material than one single.
Right. Well, and I have to admit, I end up doing the same thing, but I've been wanting this book for a while, but I also had some value points. So, same thing. This ended up costing $40. But you know as well as I do that this was a well spent $40.
Yeah. And here's another thing to keep in mind. One day today, this video will be 20 years old. One day, this video will be 50 years old. So a few years ago, less than 2, hell, maybe even less than 1, that Eternals issue 1 was a $5-10 book all day long. The second you hear just a little whisper that a movie's coming along, blows up in value. Now, how many people are really wanting that issue as opposed to those people that plan on keeping and holding that? Is it just a flip? If it's just a flip and it's not something that people actually give a shit about, then it's going to eventually come back down. It's things that people really resonate and appreciate over time, like a lot of those old Fantastic Four books and stuff. I'd rather have that than a lot of the newer stuff that comes out today. Not to say that a lot of the stuff out today has great creative energy and talent that's put to it. I just don't see it holding relevance over time. A lot of it.
And I would imagine, throughout, because what I find for me is I can find something that's been relevant in every genre, every generation, there's stuff there that I can go, okay, I get it. This is even presently. Now, what it is presently, I can't say, but I can tell you some of the things that I presently think that may be. Now, that being said, what I'm really getting at is the sense that is I'm there with you. I do agree that there is a lot of stuff in the past that has retained and holds great value in the sense of intrinsic. There's definitely some historic of just people that have come and gone. If it done influence, artistically speaking, both in writing and in penciling and inking and so forth. But all that, it's what the individual really likes. And I do like some of the abstracty kind of stuff in the sense of, I really like the art of like Silver Surfer Black. And
Tradmore was brilliant. I mean, I see people 20 years from now still getting tattoos of his art from Silver Surfer Black.
I think some of my appreciation is that influence of some of the older Kirby type stuff that I appreciated back in the day. Now, is that true? Maybe. For me, definitely. I can see a lineage too from one or the other, even if the individual knows that they've taken a direct influence or not. I'm still again trying to tie it all together, but really what I'm saying is there is stuff that influences other stuff that people doesn't realize. There's things that I can appreciate in all forms as far as past and present, and I get that how everyone can find flavors and all, but I do agree with you that for me, I'm finding a lot of great substance in some of the past stuff that I have than some of the present stuff that's being forced down my throat by some of the bigger people.
And some to also keep in mind that the people that are now being brought into the comic book reading community and the collecting, those people that have been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies all this time, even to a lesser extent the DC universe, and especially that the Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse led movie, that you're having creators that will be in 5-10 years be like, almost to the extent of Al Ewing's, Chip Zdarsky's, Donny Cates. That guy just come out of nowhere, working from like Dark Horse independent books to all of a sudden Thanos wins and he just explodes. Things are going to be happening like this more and more because of the expanse that it's reached to the public because of these movies. Hate them as a lot of people might. As long as it's bringing people in, I don't care. I just love seeing them on the screen. I mean, being a little kid, growing up on that original 1990s Flash TV show, whether you want to say it's good or bad, through a touch of nostalgia, it was just seeing something that you read in a comic book on the screen, validating your enjoyment for this of all this time, especially older readers like you and me that were on when we were younger for reading these things.
No, I can't agree more. I mean, you definitely nailed almost every sentiment and word that I could throw out there because it's true. I mean, it's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, Bake the Snake knows Flash. 90s Flash was awesome. That's why they brought him back in the new Flash.
Well, even right now, one of the things I'm liking is some of the diversity and contest. Meaning, you're seeing Rye coming out. And this, to me, this is a good thing. If more people start seeing that there's other content out there other than just Marvel or DC that could be published on a big screen like this, I think now, as far as us, the watcher, as far as us, the consumer, this is exactly what we were hoping for. Now we can start hoping to see, other way diverse stuff and newer stuff that's even been released. I would love to see Kanto. I would love to see Once in the Future. I would love to see, even in some of these black labels, that'd be fine if they want to go ahead and do more Hill movies. That would be cool.
Because tell me you wouldn't want to go see and say, "Shut up and take my money" if they wound up making a Heads movie.
Yeah, yes, please.
Man, that is my jam. I love that comic. I will definitely pay to go see that. Stephen King's son, I'm glad for the fact that he didn't have to cave under the pressure of going, well, I'm going to use my daddy's influence. No, he just changed his name to Joe Hill, started putting out great stuff like Lock and Key, but he was working in Marvel even before that. This guy is talented, and I haven't read all of his label books, but he is prolific, just like his dad, and I see those books rising steadily.
And the difference too is he still have yet to have set a regular pattern, where his dad, you can figure out his pattern. We've read so many of his books before. You could predict essentially what's going to happen in most of his books. Whereas with Joe Hill, and I agree, he's not riding on the coattails of his dad. He's still experimenting and playing, which allows him not to sit back on and just be comfortable on a particular writing, how should I say, pattern or style, and just follow a simple structure every time. It does diversify.
I think he hit that pretty right on the head there. The difference between the person's style and then they fall into a pattern because it becomes easier that way. You could probably see that most in Mark Millar's work, where he was a great writer. He still is, but he fell into a pattern where you just know that it's going to start out with a great idea, and then by the end, it's just going to all fall apart.
And you'll find this with certain people. And there's an individual. I won't say his name, last name. I'll say his first name. There's an individual that I know. His name is Ryan, and he disappeared for a while as far as writing. And the reason why he did that is, to me, he was hitting the reset button. He probably was feeling a little stale. It doesn't mean he stopped writing. He's been writing still. But he probably felt a little stale, jumped out of the community, wasn't, face-to-face talking to a lot of people. He took a good solid 3 or 4 months to himself. Now that he's come back, I have a belief that he'll do his cons, he'll do all this stuff, but I think he'll come back refreshed along with a new approach. And sometimes that's all you need, is to be able to come back into it and introspective enough to know that you have to hit the reset button, and that you may fallen into a comfortability of things to where, you're just relying on the fact that everyone is buying your stuff only because of your name and not because of it's a still quality product.
And to be fair, I mean, from what I remember back when I used to be a fine artist, that galleries, once you finally find something that sells, they don't want you to change your style. It's like, I don't know, let's just go with Picasso's Blue Period. If that started selling and you're a nobody as an artist, you're going to keep doing those blue paintings, no matter if it drives you crazy, because you get a certain amount of money per each one of them. If you want to start doing cubism or something else, whoa, hold on a second. We don't know if this is going to sell. So a lot of people just rely on what works. And some people get the opportunity to actually branch out because they're well known enough. I mean, look at Donny Cates doing baby teeth, and Redneck. Redneck's fantastic. He gets to stretch his chops. He gets to do whatever the hell he wants to do. It's not like Marvel where everything is basically dictated to you. You can work within confines, but it's basically like being one of the regulars on the writing staff for the old Batman, the 1990s animated TV show. You had to work in very, very strict confines. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't use this character. And oh God, is that a gun?
Right. No, I agree. And that's why I believe that Donnie still maintains these books, is he knows that he's able to still express himself the way he wants without being contested of direction or storytelling or whatever, even though he is, like you're saying, kept on rails in other aspects and other people that he has to work for, so yeah, I think that does allow him to hit his reset button every once in a while. And I will name another person, Derek Hunter. He does Pretty Violent, but he also that is just his how should I say, his labor of love. That's something he does on the side because his regular paying gig is Adventure Time and DuckTales. So
it shows.
Well, I mean,
when you read the first issue of Pretty Violent, I didn't really have the sense that this was something that he liked until issue 2, where it's like, okay, now it's really breaking free from the confines of, well, you kind of already knew that this girl was the bad guy trying to be a good guy. And then it started playing further on those without relying on the typical tropes of that type of nature. He could go as violent as he wants or rein it in. And you could see that he was really stretching out his artistic chops.
Precisely, because he's normally kept within a certain confines when he's doing these other shows, that he's finally able to exercise his way to be able to express himself, which is his way to be able to hit the reset button. And also, he's able to do things which he's doing right now. Once he told his arc, he said, hey, look, I'm only taking a break because I want to be able to keep up, make sure that the reader still has the content that they're looking for. They don't have to wait on me. And that allows me to go ahead and build enough storytelling, but without putting me in pressure of having to do it and then just telling a story for the sake of you having content. So he wants to still put out decent product, and he's not willing to rush it. So he's willing to say, hey, look, I'm giving you forewarning. I'm telling you up front. It's not, what is that, doomsday clock situation of, 12 issues in 2 years.
Or worse, Walking Dead for several years before he went, you know what? AMC is screwing me. Pretty much everybody's screwing me. I have a company to run, and I'm watching this guy, Jeff Johns, do this. I'm watching Jim Lee do this. You know what? I'm going to check out, write the conclusion that I always wanted to, and it was an amazing conclusion. But when you go back and read a lot of those issues from like the early 130s, 150s or so, you could see he was just treading water.
Yeah,
and a lot of I always read the letter columns in The Walking Dead, and many people were saying, it feels like you're treading water. Why doesn't it advance a little bit further? And yeah, he did wind up jumping ahead into the future, but it felt like Naruto for those people that wind up watching anime. Well, we kind of ran out of things to do. Why don't we just age the character about 5 years?
But it was an easy decision to make for him too when Super Dinosaur went into full blown being picked up. That book got picked up. That was an easy decision for him to make, to go, hey, you know what? I'm just going to pull it right here. People have been telling me to do so. I'm just going to do it.
I thought it was a hugely ballsy move. I had a feeling he was going to end it like at 200. I was telling other people very loudly, because I can be loud, that I don't care if it goes past issue 201, but for me, that shit ends at issue 200 for me. And then all of a sudden, issue 193 pops out, and we go, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, no, to me, that was brilliant. I actually saw him with Kai shortly after that. And we talked to him briefly about that. We had the luxury. We saw him at a museum and hung out with him there. So we had the luxury of hanging out in the middle of a museum and talking to him. And yeah, he said, one, he knew his time, and two, it wasn't a big need for him to have to hit 200. So he felt that it was a good time to do so, and he was telling me as he was signing our trade paperback of Super Dinosaur. So knowing that it got picked up, they were showing, they were airing it every half hour, a new episode inside the museum of Super Dinosaur. It just made sense that, like what you said, he had other things to do, other obligations, money still coming in. He didn't need to beat something up that it already made him and his name. He's already established himself an image. So he didn't need to keep doing this. You know what I mean? Just look at, you can almost flip the exact opposite with Joe Quesada. The thing that was keeping Joe Quesada from doing his art, from doing cons, from doing any type of contribution to outside of just being his creative officer deal, was the fact that that's all he had going. Now that Kevin stepped in and the titles changed for him, you're seeing Joe out there. That's this year. He's going to start doing cons a lot more. He's actually doing signings. I don't know what he's charging yet, but he's starting to make himself known that he wants to do cover art again. I think he's been actually considering doing a mini series. So, things change, and hopefully it'll be for the better.
The sad thing is they wind up getting into positions where it's a lot less more on the creative side than it is running everybody else on the creative side. Kirkman knew enough that he wound up watching the movie in 1987 Spaceballs and really took to heart what Mel Brooks said as the character Yogurt. Merchandising. It's all about merchandising.
It's true.
Because if you're just a regular creator, if you're an inker like I used to be, if you're a penciler, if you are a writer, if you're coming into Marvel's doors, you're making a set amount of money as a freelance creator. Good God, if you wind up creating something, you're probably not going to receive much or if any royalties ever. So you might want to keep a lot of those things to yourself. Moving forward, you start realizing that you only have a certain amount of time on your hands before they wind up going, you're too old, you're aged out, you're kind of like Bill Finger in his later years. It doesn't matter what you created, you're now like Bill Messner-Loebs. Anybody want to know what's his status today? You're not going to find him on Twitter. You're not going to find him on Facebook. You're going to find him homeless on the street where they have a Kickstarter to try and help for his medical bills.
Wow.
This is where a lot of creators are left off. So for those that, if you are listening to this broadcast now, merchandising, and then get in control of your own merchandising so that way you actually have an income later on so that you're not like me and poor, but comics rich.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be learned, and unfortunately you see it in all kinds of other forms of art, meaning musicians and everything else. Everyone gets exploited and they don't realize that that's what's happening until it's way too late.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, Kesha, good God, we know the stories with Kesha. We're probably not going to see new music from her for a little while because of the lawsuits, which leads me to another thing. If you ever have to get involved with a lawsuit, rule number 1, don't. And if they're suing you, just give them what they want, because otherwise that's years and years of your life you'll never get back. The older you get, it's not about money, it's about time.
I agree. I always say the same thing. You can, if you hit the lottery, all right, great, you have money, but you can't buy time.
Oh yeah, Chad. I want some of that Biggie Shaq fake juice. Wait, what's in it? I'm kidding.
Well, hey, Rob, I appreciate you hanging out with us. We want to show off some books, and that was pretty much about it. Kai did have an announcement. Hey, Kai. Hey, son. Oh well.
Are you in California?
Kai.
Hi, welcome to the Rob Worth Show. So I have some comic books to show you. I start going through the bottom row. Oh, he's back. So
I'm back.
I'm like, oh God, now it's all up to me. No dead air around here.
Well, Kai basically ended up getting on the swim team, so that's why he's not been around much, and he's been really busy. And that swim team is going to prep him for he did last year, and he's going to be doing it this year. The junior lifeguard. So all this is, basically leading up to the fact that he's going to be a lot busier. We're still going to be trying to throw some content out there, but we'll see what we can do as we can do it.
I like that, Chad. Oh, so if he's part of the Junior Lifeguard Association, wouldn't that by proxy mean it's his first induction into the JLA?
That's funny.
I was not original there. That was a joke stolen off of Smallville.
Oh,
Like, hey, maybe we should all
okay.
get together and call ourselves something like the Junior Lifeguard Association.
I like that. That's awesome.
Smallville, ladies and gentlemen. Do you ever want to watch a show about Superman where you don't see him in costume for a single episode except for the very last episode in the last 10 seconds? Yeah, me neither. But I did.
I know that's exactly what the show was. I couldn't get into
We
it.
had get-togethers where we all got drunk and just made fun of the show towards that last season.
Well, have you ever had to play as a game where you drank every time you put on a costume? It would be a very sobering experience.
Oh, well, welcome to sobriety. You wind up becoming a teetotaler up until the last episode, and then you wind up just totally breaking 10 years of sobriety.
Well, hey, Rob, I again appreciate you hanging out. You have a great night, and hopefully we'll do this again maybe tomorrow.
Will do. I'm around.
All right.
And
You
my
take care.
coffee is called Cuban coffee.
Cuban coffee? That's how you stay up? Cuban coffee?
Colada. I had one at about 3 o'clock today, and here I am.
Oh, wow. Hey, take care, sir. Have a great night.
You too. Good night.
Good night, community.